Welcome to DWHuff Consulting. We're a CPA firm, and we handle most of the things you would typically expect from a CPA firm. We do like to do things slightly differently and emphasize more of knowing your numbers and being able to do some planning. But before we can jump into that, look at this guy, this picture of a person here from named Forrest Fenn. So if you don't know him, you're probably 2 million or so less wealthy than you could be. But it's a funny story here. He actually buried some treasure out in the mountains, and I believe it's North Colorado, I believe, in the Rockies. And he basically put a challenge out there to everybody to, anybody could find this wealth could have it. And he gave some pictures there of the various jewelry and pieces that went into it. And a bunch of people went out there and searched for it. I believe a few have died. Like it says in the news article, it's like 5 people have died, and looking for this treasure out in the great wilderness out there. And a lot of people tried, and at some point in time, somebody did find it, but it took a while. So anyway, that's one way of getting wealthy. But we prefer to get there a different way by knowing our numbers and doing some smart planning and utilizing some systems that we've kind of found over the years. Working with a lot of customers. We've been at this now since 1997 on various partnerships with other firms along the years, and we've kind of seen a few things that can help you, make better use of your money. So, and it's just a general overview. On the tax side of things, we do the personal income tax returns and business returns, and as well as returns for some of those lesser known entities like the trust and estates and things like that. And we don't just prepare numbers with historical data. We also help you plan for the upcoming year. So tax planning is a big part of what we can do. Based on the new upcoming year's tax rates and based on the changes in your income and deductions, we can certainly calculate those things and help you plan for those big tax liabilities that may be coming up and offer you suggestions to minimize them. There's always planning opportunities if you get started early enough. For the business owners, we do a lot of accounting assistance. So QuickBooks, Xero, Sage, all those accounting programs, we're well versed in those, and we can help you set them up and use them properly. I think a lot of people underestimate how quickly they can learn those programs, and sometimes they get to be more trouble and cause more headaches than they saw when they're not set up properly. So we do get involved in the front end there and help you, as well as providing bookkeeping assistance. So we have companies that sometimes have turnover in their staff and they need a little help. We have people that can help you with that, as well as payroll, sales taxes, and those different other filings that kind of are required throughout the course of a year. On the consulting section here, we help you decide between different types of entities. So people sometimes don't know the difference between an LLC and a corporation or other types of entities that they can operate. And we can help you, weigh the benefits and the pros and cons of each of those and decide which one's right, because it's definitely not a one-size-fits-all answer. And if you don't get some professional advice, sometimes you could go the wrong way and spend money on fees and make things more difficult than they need to. We've also helped with self-directed IRAs and setting up those things. So if you have privately monitored assets and you want to do that, go that route, we can help you establish those type of accounts, and as well as training on the software too. So I guess that kind of is similar to the accounting services, but we can also help you with some specific training on parts of these various programs that you need. So multiple different ways that we can help you and just be less stressed out and make money more easily. But you'll notice the emphasis is on know your numbers, as well as our build, grow, enjoy financial system. So knowing your numbers, we found over is really, I guess, it's step one in really helping you attain goals. So by knowing your numbers, when we say it, we want you to kind of start out with any new entity, whether it's a business or you're looking to invest in some property. We always want you to have an idea of how much money you want to make, and keep that idea of that dollar amount kind of visible, and have something to kind of work towards with whatever it is that you're doing. So we always want to know, what number we're trying to achieve, and keep that kind of background. It doesn't mean that once you achieve it, you stop, but we always want to have some number in mind versus profitability or growth or whatever. We always want to know that number. And we also want to track our progress as we're going. So That's where using the various accounting programs or even just Excel workbooks are important. But we are always going to track our progress towards that goal and kind of update those things on a regular basis, and figure out a way to do it in a way that's not too time consuming, and something that you'll actually do. So knowing the numbers is important, not just in the business setting, but also on some of the individual investments that you will make as well. But that's, I guess, one of the two parts. And then we have our build, grow, enjoy financial system. So that's the way we've kind of organized how we approach things. So go back to the planning. So I got that old Yogi Berra quote here that you got to be careful, if you don't know where you're going, because you might not get there. And so having an end goal in mind is, and we found it to be very important. So if you're kind of aimlessly operating here, we find that those type of entities that don't have a kind of a clear vision and a mission and something that they're aiming for, we just found they just seem to not ever really not really reach their potential. So we want to mention that. But our build, grow, enjoy financial system is, once we have that idea, that goal, that destination in place, now how do we go about getting there? So we kind of break it down in different segments here. What we've learned, so kind of keep our focus on the right area. So the build wealth, so that's really where we're trying to make it. So whether you work in a job somewhere, we're going to provide advice there. If you're starting a new business, there's things that need to happen there to make that business profitable. So and also, of course, another part of that is protecting those assets. So we have to set up certain entities so you don't find yourself involved in some sort of lawsuit or other deal where you could possibly lose some of the stuff that you've tried to build. So the build process is build wealth process is really the first step of everything, and that's how we obtain some assets that we can do more with later on in the investment realm. So the grow wealth step of the whole process here is where we kind of look at money you've accumulated, and obviously we don't want to just have it sitting in an ordinary checking account at the bank. We want to have that money growing and working for you. So it's the difference between working for your money like you're doing in the build phase, and having your money work for you, which is what our aim with the growth phase. So we talk about certain real estate investments and some other passive investments we can help you there. We don't provide specific stock advice. We do spend time educating you different types of publicly traded securities that are out there, and we have referral sources for people if you do need help picking those things. But there's a lot to know there. So as you move away from the regular passbook type accounts and into other things, there's things that you need to know about the fixed income investments, the different types of mutual funds that are out there, and the stock market, and real estate and other type of private investments. So there's a lot to understand, but we can help you choose the things that'll work for you to get that money that you worked hard for and accumulate it, and have it continue to grow for you. So you could also be doing the build and the grow things simultaneously, and just increase your net worth. And at some point, we're going to want to enjoy our wealth. So we don't want to constantly be working, and that goes back to another reason why we want to have some numbers in mind of what we want to get. So if you have a certain net worth in mind and you get there, then maybe you want to spend less time building it and more time worrying about growing and enjoying, right? So we might shift our focus as time goes on and we reach some of those milestones. But the enjoy section of it is really, it's not just spending it, but actually we do need to keep an eye on that and ensure that we're not overspending and everything like that. But there's usually better ways to get money out of retirement plans. So you may have parked money in tax advantage retirement plans. Sometimes there's withdrawals and things can put you in a high tax bracket, maybe even a higher tax bracket than when you were working in some cases. So we want to look at those things and make sure we're withdrawing things from the right type of accounts at the right time to manage the tax brackets, but also converting some illiquid assets into some that things you could tap into for either they're helping your family members grow. So if you have some intergenerational type things you want to accomplish with your children and family members, who can take some of those things that maybe might be a little bit harder to turn into cash and liquidate them into things that are more liquid, so into publicly traded markets or other types of events like that. So that's the enjoy part of it is at the end of the process. So, and I guess another income protection is another thing that we will look at. So we always want to make sure that we have enough liquidity to cover our own expenses and any contingencies, and if not, be sure that we have the right insurance coverages and protections for that. So that's where the enjoy your wealth kind of comes into play. So we shift focuses a little bit, and And like I said, in some cases, all three of the things are going on simultaneously. But generally, build, grow, enjoy is where it all starts. So obviously, when you're first starting out and you don't have a lot of money, we're not going to be very concerned about enjoying it. We're going to be probably a little bit less concerned about growing because we still don't really have any a base to work with yet. So it is sort of chronological in our approach there. So that's really all I got about on the overview here. So if you are interested in learning more, reach out to us, or you can check out our website, huffconsulting.net, to learn a little bit more. We also have a scheduling tool there, so if you want to talk to somebody at our office in person and learn a little bit more, you can use the Acuity scheduling tool there to set up a meeting. Thank you.